August 1944. The briefing room at RAF Bodney fell silent as Major George Preddy walked in. His P-51 Mustang was still cooling on the hard stand outside. 2 more German fighters added to his tally, 16 confirmed kills. But when he took his seat among the assembled pilots of the 352nd Fighter Group, nobody congratulated him. Instead, whispers. A voice loud enough to carry across the room. "There goes Preddy. Runs away every time it gets interesting." Another pilot laughed. 20 kills, and I've never seen him dogfight once. Just dives in, shoots, and runs. My grandmother could rack up kills flying like that. Preddy ignored them. He'd heard it all before. Preddy's scared to fight fair. Real aces turn with the enemy. He's just a hit-and-run artist who won't stick around when things get tough. The criticism came from everywhere. Young pilots who believed dogfighting separated cowards from heroes, squadron mates who considered sustained turning combat the mark of a true fighter ace. What none of them understood was that everything they believed about aerial combat was wrong. Dogfighting wasn't bravery. It was suicide dressed up as honor. And while his critics mocked him for refusing to play the enemy's game, Preddy was quietly revolutionizing how American pilots fought the air war over Europe. By December 1944, George Preddy would be the deadliest P-51 Mustang ace in American history, with 26.83 confirmed kills. Most of the pilots who had called him a coward would be dead, shot down while trying to prove their courage in turning fights they couldn't win. This is the story of how one pilot understood that physics beats bravery, and how the coward who refused to dogfight changed American fighter tactics and saved thousands of lives. American fighter pilot doctrine in 1944 was simple, romantic, and deadly. Real pilots turned with the enemy. Close in, knife fight dogfighting, where superior skill determined the victor. The belief came from World War I aces, from Hollywood movies, from every story about aerial combat ever told. If you couldn't outturn your opponent, you weren't really a fighter pilot. The problem was that German fighters could outturn American P-51s at certain speeds and altitudes. The Focke-Wulf 190 had superior roll rate. The Messerschmitt 109 could tighten its turn radius under specific conditions. When American pilots accepted dogfights, they were playing to German strengths, and they were dying. The statistics were brutal. Allied fighter losses over Europe climbed steadily through early 1944. Experienced pilots, men who had survived months of combat, were being killed in prolonged turning engagements where German fighters exploited their advantages. Before we continue, I'd love to know where you're watching from and what you think about Preddy's tactics. Was refusing to dogfight cowardice or genius? Drop a comment below. And if you appreciate this level of historical detail, I hope you'll subscribe to the channel. These stories take serious research to get the details right, and knowing you're out there makes it all worthwhile. Preddy had watched squadron after squadron lose pilots to turning fights. Good men, brave men, skilled pilots, all dead because they believed you had to fight fair. He saw the mathematics everyone else ignored. A P-51 Mustang had advantages German fighters couldn't match: speed in level flight, diving ability, and, most critically, the ability to climb back to altitude faster than anything Germany flew. The question was whether to use those advantages or surrender them by accepting dogfights on the enemy's terms. Preddy's tactic was brutally simple. Start 5,000 feet above the enemy. Dive at full throttle. The P-51 could reach 500 miles per hour in a dive, faster than any German fighter could safely handle. Line up the shot during the descent. Fire one burst, 2 seconds maximum. Then use that diving speed to climb back to altitude before the enemy could react. Boom and zoom, pilots called it. Dive, shoot, climb away. Never turn with the enemy. Never stick around for a second pass if you missed. Never, ever accept a dogfight invitation. His squadron mates hated it. Where was the skill? Where was the courage? Any pilot could point his nose down and squeeze the trigger. Real aces stayed in the fight, turned with the enemy, proved their superiority through sustained combat. The mockery intensified as Preddy's kill count climbed. 5 victories in July, 4 more in August. Each one followed the same pattern. Altitude advantage, diving attack, immediate separation, no extended combat, no dramatic turning duels, just physics, geometry, and 2 seconds of accurate gunnery. Preddy's padding his score with easy kills. He's never been tested in real combat. The young lions of the 352nd Fighter Group wanted glory. Preddy wanted to survive long enough to go home. By September 1944, the mathematics of Preddy's approach became impossible to ignore. He had 23 confirmed kills, but more tellingly, he had 0 close calls, no forced landings, no battle damage requiring emergency procedures. His P-51 returned from missions with minor bullet holes at most, often completely untouched. The pilots who mocked him weren't so lucky. The 352nd Fighter Group's casualty lists told a grim story. Pilots who accepted prolonged turning engagements with German fighters were dying at alarming rates. Some were shot down immediately. Others survived initial combat only to be caught during extended maneuvering when fuel ran low and options disappeared. Colonel Joe Mason, commanding the 352nd Fighter Group through most of 1944, started quietly recommending Preddy's approach. Not officially, the old doctrine still dominated training manuals, but in private mission briefings, the message spread. Use your altitude. Don't turn with them. Fight like Preddy. Still, the criticism persisted among many pilots. Preddy was racking up kills, yes, but he wasn't proving anything. Any pilot could survive if they ran away every time things got difficult. Real aces stood and fought. The breakthrough in understanding would come not from debating tactics, but from understanding the physics those tactics exploited. What Preddy understood, what his critics couldn't see, was energy management. It wasn't cowardice, it was physics. Every aircraft in the sky has 2 types of energy: kinetic energy from speed and potential energy from altitude. You can trade one for the other, dive to convert altitude into speed, climb to convert speed back into altitude. But different aircraft convert energy at different rates, and that's where the advantage lay. The P-51 Mustang was exceptional at energy conversion. Its streamlined design and powerful Packard Merlin engine meant it could dive fast, maintain that speed, and climb efficiently back to altitude. German fighters like the FW-190 and ME-109 were optimized for different characteristics, primarily turning performance, which requires bleeding energy rapidly through high G-forces in tight turns. When American pilots accepted dogfights, they were voluntarily surrendering their aircraft's primary advantage to fight in the regime where German fighters excelled. It was like a boxer with superior reach, agreeing to wrestle instead of punch. Strategically incoherent. Tactically suicidal. Preddy's boom and zoom exploited energy advantages ruthlessly. Start with 5,000 feet of potential energy. Convert it to 500 miles per hour of kinetic energy during the dive. Use that speed advantage for one high-speed pass. Then convert excess kinetic energy back to altitude before the enemy can respond. The German pilot never got to use his superior turning radius because Preddy never turned. He never got to exploit his aircraft's strengths because the engagement was over before he could bring them to bear. This wasn't cowardice. This was understanding that aerial combat wasn't about courage or skill in turning fights. It was about physics, and the side that fought, according to physical laws, won. August 6, 1944. The mission that silenced every critic. Preddy's flight encountered a formation of Messerschmitt 109s escorting German bombers over Hamburg, Germany. 20 enemy fighters. Preddy positioned his four-ship P-51 formation 8,000 feet above the enemy, perfect setup. He didn't hesitate. Roll, dive, accelerate. One Me-109 exploded under his guns. Zoom climb back to altitude. Reposition. Second diving pass. Another 109 trailing smoke and fire. His wingmen struggled to match his rapid altitude changes, climbing and diving with precision that seemed impossible. Third pass. Fourth pass. Fifth pass. The German formation was scattering, confused by attacks coming from above at speeds their aircraft couldn't match. Pilots who tried to turn and engage found Preddy already climbing away, converting his speed back to altitude before they could line up shots. Sixth pass. 6 Messerschmitt 109s destroyed in 17 minutes of combat. Preddy never turned with a single enemy aircraft, never accepted a dogfight invitation, never deviated from energy management principles. The gun camera footage told the story when he returned to Bodny. Every kill followed identical geometry. Diving attack, 2-second burst, immediate zoom climb, methodical, precise, undeniable. 29 confirmed kills now. 0 close calls. The mockery stopped that day. By late 1944, the evidence had become overwhelming. Preddy's tactics weren't just keeping him alive, they were the most effective way to fight the air war over Europe. His survival rate combined with his kill count proved that energy management wasn't cowardice. It was the future of aerial combat. Colonel James D. Maiden, who assumed command of the 352nd Fighter Group in November 1944, made the approach official. New pilots arriving at Bodny received explicit instruction: use altitude advantage, execute diving attacks, never accept sustained turning combat with German fighters. The tactical bulletins spreading through 8th Air Force fighter groups were even more direct. Enemy fighters are optimized for turning combat. Do not engage on their terms. Maintain altitude advantage. Execute boom and zoom attacks. Separate immediately after each pass. What had been ridiculed as cowardice in August became official doctrine by December. Preddy's approach was renamed Energy Management Tactics in training manuals. The mockery transformed into mandatory instruction. The Germans noticed the change. Luftwaffe combat reports from late 1944 and early 1945 frequently complained that American fighters refused to dogfight. German aces, trained to exploit superior turning performance, found themselves unable to bring their skills to bear against opponents who attacked from above and disappeared before sustained combat could develop. December 25, 1944. Preddy was scrambled to intercept German fighters attacking Allied positions during the Battle of the Bulge. He shot down 2 Focke-Wulf 190s using his standard tactics: diving attacks from altitude, no turning combat, immediate separation after each pass. 32 confirmed kills now. The highest-scoring P-51 Mustang ace in the European theater. His tactics had been proven. His approach had become doctrine. He had revolutionized American fighter combat. But war doesn't care about tactics or survival rates or revolutionary approaches. During the engagement, Preddy pursued damaged German aircraft at low altitude over Allied lines near Liège, Belgium. An American anti-aircraft gunner, seeing a fighter at low altitude in the chaos and confusion of battle, opened fire. George Preddy was killed by friendly fire at age 25, not by a German pilot who outturned him. Not because his energy management tactics failed, but because in the chaos of war, even perfect tactics can't protect you from everything. The pilot, who had survived hundreds of combat missions by refusing to fight on the enemy's terms, was killed by his own side. After the war, Luftwaffe commanders revealed what they had recognized by late 1944. American fighter tactics had evolved in ways that nullified German advantages. Colonel Günther Röhl, one of Germany's highest-scoring aces, with 275 confirmed kills, was among those who analyzed the tactical shift. In post-war interviews, he acknowledged that American fighters had stopped playing to German strengths. They refused to turn with us. Every engagement became diving attacks from altitude followed by immediate separation. We could not bring them to sustained combat, where our training and aircraft performance advantages mattered. German fighter doctrine had been built on superior turning performance and pilot skill in close-in combat. When American pilots stopped accepting those terms of engagement, that entire tactical framework became irrelevant. German aces could outturn anyone in the sky, but they never got the chance. The irony was complete. The tactics that had been mocked as cowardice in 1944 had, by 1945, rendered German fighter tactics obsolete. Energy management principles, fighting in the vertical rather than the horizontal, maintaining speed and altitude rather than accepting turning combat, had changed the fundamental nature of aerial warfare. Today, every fighter pilot in every air force learns energy management as fundamental doctrine. The U.S. Air Force Weapons School teaches what was once called boom and zoom, now termed vertical maneuvering, as the foundation of modern air combat tactics. The F-22 Raptor and F-35 Lightning II, America's most advanced fighters, are designed around the same principle George Preddy understood in 1944. Altitude and energy advantages matter more than turning ability. Modern fighter doctrine explicitly instructs pilots to fight in the vertical, maintain altitude, use speed, avoid sustained turning combat that bleeds energy. George Preddy finished the war with 26.83 confirmed kills, the highest tally of any P-51 Mustang pilot in the European theater. The fractional kill resulted from a shared victory. More importantly, he proved that aerial combat isn't about courage in dogfights. It's about understanding physics and refusing to fight on the enemy's terms. The pilots who called him a coward didn't survive 1944. They died proving their bravery in turning fights they couldn't win. Preddy survived until friendly fire claimed him, because he understood that honoring fallen comrades doesn't mean dying like they did. It means surviving by fighting smarter. In the end, the coward who ran from every dogfight became America's deadliest Mustang ace and revolutionized fighter combat doctrine. Not despite his tactics, but because of them. Physics doesn't care about bravery, and in aerial warfare, the side that accepts that reality wins. One pilot's refusal to fight fair changed how every fighter pilot in the world approaches combat. That's George Preddy's legacy, proving that surviving to fight another day isn't cowardice. It's victory.